Getting the upper hand on a big fire in East County. That's where people were being ordered out of their homes tonight. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. Crews are fighting the flames from the ground and air in Flint Springs area in Alpine. KPBS reporter Steve Walsh is near the fire lines with an update. Steve.
Well, that's right, Ebony. I'm here on I-8, just near Lake Jennings. We're just starting to see some of the roads open up here over on the west side here. People traveling west can get on here. There's talk of opening up on the other side, though obviously we're still seeing fire crews here staging on the road. Also, you can see fire crews up in the top of the hill as well as some down near the bottom. This fire started right around here. In fact, you can see some flame retardant coming up right there, but then it moved quickly east towards Dunbar. 5 homes were involved in the evacuation. It's caused very large traffic backups in both directions, but so far there have been no reports of injuries. Reporting live here from the site of the Jennings Lake fire here on I-8, Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
Thanks, Steve. We'll continue to update this developing story on air and online at kpbs.org. Thank you, Steve. 15 Marines and a Navy sailor who died this week in a military plane crash in Mississippi were headed to El Centro. The KC-130 cargo and refueling tanker was seen spiraling into a soybean field late yesterday afternoon. The Marine Corps reports the wreckage burned for hours. The Naval Air Facility in El Centro is a training grounds for naval aviators. Christopher Hugh is a public affairs officer for the base. He says the crew members were scheduled to deliver cargo for future exercises.
We're kind of like the classroom, and squadrons will come out here and bring their personnel and aircraft, and they'll train using our base and our airspace and the 2 local ranges we have nearby.
An investigation is underway to determine the cause of the crash. Many of the crew members who died were from a unit based in New York. Life without an address is hard for those who are homeless in San Diego. They grapple daily with hunger, addiction, mental illness, and chronic instability. Add that to the threat of being attacked. KPBS investigative reporter Amita Sharma looks at violence against people who live on San Diego's streets.
In San Diego's alleys, side streets, or on the sidewalks, stories of violence against people with no home abound. Cheryl Taylor, a former caregiver who wears pink bunny ears, has one.
I've been raped. And it's really hard because I'm really a trusting person.
So does Richard Stevenson, despite having the build of a basketball player.
We just seen rocks, big old rocks. I got pictures and all that on my cell phone of the original stuff. Rocks just flying all over the place. Bing, bing. So we thought it was somebody in the field right here, across from you right here, just, playing with us, because the rocks didn't come near us at first. The next thing you know, one bounced off the wall and hit me.
And then there's Jeanette Reynolds.
A guy 16 years old come up behind me I had never seen in my life and put his elbow behind my neck like this. I thought it was somebody I knew was playing with me, and he almost broke my neck.
Their stories are part of the ugly reality of being homeless.
They have no protection, and there's also desperation. So there's violence that's committed by people who are homeless, and there's violence that's perpetuated on people who are homeless by people who aren't.
Newly released numbers show that in 2016, California led the nation in fatal attacks against people who live on the street. According to the National Coalition for the Homeless, of the 53 homeless people killed last year in the U.S., 20 were in California. And of those 20, 3 were homeless men in San Diego. The attacker set some of his victims on fire during a series of assaults on homeless people exactly 1 year ago. National Coalition for the Homeless Director Megan Hustings says the number of reported assaults against the homeless is likely inaccurate.
Many of the violent attacks against homeless folks that we track or that we know are occurring go unreported because folks who are on the streets don't always have the best relationship with public authorities, with police departments. Often folks are told to move on when they're sleeping or even sitting outside. There's a number of cities that have actually criminalized the act of laying down, sleeping.
Serious injuries mean more ER visits by the homeless, many of whom are uninsured.
It's coming out of all of our pockets.
And he says there's a moral component.
What kind of city do we want to be? One that abandons our neighbors to the street to be victims, or one that actually takes care of people, brings them back inside to be our house neighbors?
But instead, McConnell says he gets asked a different question by onlookers when he aids the homeless.
Why are you here helping people? You're bringing pigeons to the park. That's how they described homeless people.
That dehumanization, Richard Stevenson says, breeds violence against the homeless, but he says it's the human experience, albeit tragic ones, that put people on the streets. Stevenson started living on a sidewalk after he was released from prison, where he says he served time for killing his wife and son while driving drunk. He says he knows how he's viewed.
Bottom of the totem pole, you know what I mean? Dirty, scandalous, you know what I mean? Because, you know, they label homeless people, you know, thieves, you know, as you can see, trash up, you know what I mean? Just a pest, period.
Cheryl Taylor, the woman with the bunny ears, says she lost her apartment 2 years ago after quitting her job to take care of her sick daughter. But she says the people who live in the high-rise across the street never bothered to ask her how she became homeless.
There's a couple people up there that that scream from the balconies, "Bum, get out of here, you're just dirty trash, you know, why do you have to be here, you know, you're not welcome."
Jeanette Reynolds and her boyfriend ended up homeless when her rent got too high. Now she recites with pride how she dispensed her own street justice recently when a would-be attacker pulled out a knife.
I bent down like this and pulled a razor out. And I told him, I said, 911 coming at all 3 of us because you're not going to take us down like that.
Amita Sharma, KPBS News.
Tomorrow, Amita Sharma talks to Lieutenant Carol Beeson with the San Diego Police Department's homeless outreach team about violence against the homeless and the city's sweeps. The city of San Diego has filled its open position for senior advisor on homelessness. Native San Diego Jonathan Herrera got the job. He replaces Stacy Spector, who left abruptly after 7 months on the job. Herrera says his approach will be hands-on.
I've taken the time to literally get my hands dirty and you know, get involved in doing street outreach and talking to individuals directly affected by homelessness. You know, it's a very in-your-face, you know, process. It's very uncomfortable at times. You're dealing with individuals that are often in the worst time of their life, you know, so it weighs heavily on you emotionally.
According to the point-in-time count, homelessness in San Diego has increased by 18% in the last year, while the number of tents in the city have increased by 64%. Doctors are joining the campaign to end the backlog of untested rape kits in California. Medical professionals joined survivors of sexual assault today in California. They're raising awareness about legislation aimed at reducing the number of rape kits sitting untested in crime labs. Doctors say failing to process evidence kits is not fair to victims.
So the very few crimes where the victim is asked to go through this type of invasive interview and examination. And it's only right and just that that patient, after having the courage to do all that exam, should be able to know the results of the exam.
One bill calls for creating a voluntary tax contribution fund to help cover the cost of testing. Another bill would require law enforcement to report the number of tested and untested kits. Carlsbad City Council will consider tonight whether to join other North County coastal cities exploring the feasibility of buying energy from cleaner sources of power. KPBS reporter Allison St. John says Carlsbad is the fourth North County city to consider community choice energy.
If the City of Carlsbad votes tonight to help pay for a feasibility study of community choice energy, that would mean that all the North County coastal cities except for Oceanside are thinking of moving ahead. Community choice energy, or community choice aggregation as it's sometimes called, would allow cities to have more choice of where their energy is generated, allowing more clean energy to be in the mix. But that energy would still be brought to them by SDG&E's transmission line. Now, Ryan Ubella, who is the owner of Master's Kitchen in Oceanside, is in favor of looking into whether this would benefit businesses like his.
It definitely could help with the fossil fuels being burned. It also helps with costs for me doing business. I just all around think it's a good idea to check and see if it actually can work and if it's something that the community can move forward with.
The cities of Del Mar and Encinitas have already voted to help pay for a feasibility study. Solana Beach is ahead of the game. They've finished their feasibility study and are already working with contractors. The city of Oceanside has yet to schedule a vote. Allison St. John, KPBS News.
Hi, I'm Nathan Fletcher. I'm running for county supervisor to take on the status quo and make county government work.
It's official. Former San Diego Assemblyman Nathan Fletcher has confirmed speculation today that he is running for a seat on the San Diego County Board of Supervisors. He's looking to replace Ron Roberts, who is terming out. He'll face fellow Democrat Omar Passons for the seat. Former District Attorney Bonnie DeManis is also reportedly mulling a run. In 2013, the former Marine unsuccessfully ran to replace disgraced San Diego Mayor Bob Filner. He recently married San Diego Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez Fletcher. Growing deportation fears prompted San Diego Congressman Juan Vargas to hold a town hall forum last night on immigration. A crowd of about 100 people listened to a panel of immigration lawyers and advocates explain immigrant rights. They gave advice on what to do if federal officers showed up at people's doors, or if a family member who is a veteran has been deported. Vargas says calls to his office have increased under the Trump administration.
There's a lot of fear in this community, and people are asking very important questions because these questions unfortunately become real. And they say, what happens if I get deported? What happens to my kids? What rights do they have?
During President Trump's first 3 months in office, arrests of immigrants were up 40% over last year. The town hall meeting was calm except for a few outbursts during a question and answer session. The event was held at the Sherman Heights Community Center. The Sweetwater School District has spent millions of dollars over the past few years buying iPads for students and staff. Now the district has started selling the tablets to a San Diego company named Gazelle. iNews Source reporter Leonardo Castaneda has more.
You know, the iPads have had a not the greatest history with the Bond Oversight Committee.
Monday night, the Sweetwater School Board ratified a contract to sell an estimated 10,300 outdated iPads to Gazelle, a used electronics retailer. But the district had already sold about 5,600 of the devices to the company. Gazelle paid Sweetwater about $400,000 for them. Sweetwater didn't disclose its plans to sell the iPads when iNewsSource asked about the devices in May, even though a price quote was generated the month before. Many of the devices come from the district's One-to-One initiative, a program to purchase iPads for its middle schoolers. Part of the funding for that program came from bond interest revenues. The company estimates it'll pay an additional $400,000 for the remaining iPads. A school official told iNewsSource the district was allowed to sell the devices before it had board approval because the outdated iPads are considered electronic waste. I'm Leonardo Castaneda with iNewsSource, an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS.
Another update on the Jennings fire in East County. 400 acres have burned so far. At one point, the fire had both lanes of Interstate 8 closed near Flint Springs, and there were evacuation orders. We'll continue to update this fire on air and online at kpbs.org. A high surf advisory for San Diego has huge waves riding in from Hurricane Eugene. Erin Calandra lets us know when things should settle down.
We have a high surf advisory to tell you about here in San Diego County. It will be in place through tomorrow evening. We are seeing some very high waves, up to 10 feet in places, mainly the southern facing beaches. That's where it's going to be the strongest waves, also some rip currents as well. It's because of Hurricane Eugene, which is out in the Pacific. It's not going to impact us in any way besides those dangerous conditions, especially for swimmers here at the beach. So taking a look at our satellite and radar, we are seeing some spotty activity, showers and thunderstorms in places, mainly in the mountains and also the deserts. We have this moist air coming up from Mexico, and that is creating some pop-up storms all across the southwest. For tonight, 69 degrees for our overnight low, fog late, breaking up during the day for some sunshine later on. Along the coast here, it's going to be a bit cloudy tonight, 66 degrees in Oceanside, 69 in San Diego, Borrego Springs 78, Mount Laguna 61, and Ramona 61 degrees tonight. Taking a look at our Wednesday, well, it's still very hot and dry for the most part in the southwest, triple digits in the deserts. Along the coast, though, much cooler, still above average in places like here in San Diego. It's just a few degrees above average, so not far off, but a bit warm. 79 degrees tomorrow for our high temperature. Same story for Oceanside. Poway, 89 degrees for the high. Borrego Springs still cooking at 107, and Mount Laguna, 80 degrees tomorrow for the high temperature. Taking a look here along the coast for the next 5 days, it's going to be very comfortable, a bit above average, as I said, with plenty of sunshine during the day. Temperatures right around 80 degrees throughout the week. Inland, it's a bit warmer. We're at 89 degrees through Friday. Saturday and Sunday, Saturday especially, a bit warmer, 92 degrees with that fog burning off for sunshine later on. In the mountains, very comfortable. We're in the low 80s for much of the week. We bump it up to 86, though, on Saturday, and an afternoon shower should be expected. Sunday, showers and thunderstorms in the mountains, and in the deserts, it's going to be sunny until Sunday when we do have a thunderstorm pass through as well. For KPBS News, I'm Erin Calandra.
It could be a win-win situation for Los Angeles and Paris. The International Olympic Committee has announced a possible deal today. It may lead to both cities hosting the Summer Games. One would take it the year 2024, the other 2028.
There's the old cliche, there is no silver medal when you bid. But maybe the better metaphor has been, in Olympic history, we've actually had 37 times which there has been a tie for a gold medal. And maybe today is the 38th, a time in which two cities with two great bids, two places that have worked very hard after their nations have struggled before to bring the Olympic Games home.
The IOC will take one more look at the deal on September 13th. Thousands of photographs highlighting the stories of ethnic communities in Los Angeles have been documented and restored. It's part of a decades-long project launched by the Los Angeles Public Library. KCET's Artbound shows us the shades of LA.
What happened in 1990 was that someone came actually from the Southern California Library in South LA looking for photographs of Watts as a community, people living in Watts. And so she opened the Watts folder, and there was just a photograph of the Pacific Electric Railway station. That was it. And she said, okay, this is not right. We've got to get the photographs of the community. So she had this insight that if the photographs aren't in the public collections anywhere, in any of then they must be out there in people's homes, in people's private collections, in their family albums, and that we just needed to get out there, have these people bring in the photographs, that we would copy them, get the stories. And she was right, basically. And so that was really the beginning of the project.
I was really impressed with the Shades of LA project when it first was launched in the 1990s, because they offered alternatives to the stereotypes of ethnic communities, of ethnic people in Los Angeles, by providing real stories.
the photo days were really these kind of wonderful events. They became these events. I mean, at first we just planned them because it seemed like the best way to copy the photographs. But this side benefit of actually becoming a kind of grassroots community history project and having people meet face to face is really wonderful.
I was notified that the Downtown Public Library was doing photo days, so I went to it and I took about 3 boxes full of pictures. Oh, that's my mother. I brought everything from family photos to photos of the houses to photos of the pets. Oh, you name it. You name it. Just photos that you would take in life. Oh, that's my great-grandfather, Alexander. There were other people in line who had their pictures too. I can remember one lady was Asian and she had her pictures, and another one was Hispanic and she had her pictures. One was in front of me and one was in back of me in the line, and we were sharing the pictures. And it was so funny because I could come up with a picture of my family and they'd have a picture very similar to my picture, but it was their family. So it proved that people are just people.
Another one of my favorite photographs. I think this is an amazing photograph of this sort of transition in immigrant families. So the parents had immigrated and the children have, some traditional Japanese with the kimono, of course. But there's also the Western clothing, the tricycle sort of in the house, which is sort of interesting. The Christmas tree itself as well. And in fact, if you look at the titles of the book, not only are they're the Japanese children's books, but there's actually a Mother Goose book. But it's also so deliberately laid out. It's just this kind of presentation and clearly a kind of special photograph for the family.
And it's something that we can all relate to. It's a familiar scene. But what's going to happen to that family in just a little bit more than 10 years? That association with home, with place, is going to be removed when we understand the experience of Japanese Americans after 1942, after the executive order to remove 120,000 Japanese Americans. So we can look at that wonderful scene and actually use it as a teaching tool to talk about the internment of Japanese Americans, because that scene of Christmas is going to be removed. They're going to be denied that. They're going to be denied place, denied home. And I think another photograph that would go well with it from the Shades of LA project is there's a photograph, I think a 1944 photograph, of a golf club, a golf group at the Gila internment camp in Arizona. And when I look at that photograph, first of all, I don't see any grass. There isn't a golf course. I see nothing but cactus and just dry ground in the background. But what I see in the faces of the people, of those who were interned or imprisoned at Gila and at other camps as well, is I see this amazing resilience to maintain normalcy, to maintain a normal life, whether it's golf or a beauty pageant or a baseball team or a dance, a teenage dance that was going on in one of the internment camps. So we can use these photographs to understand the experiences of a group like Japanese Americans during World War II or slightly before, and to understand what their experiences was and what was their home life like and what did they lose.
You can see more of the Shades of LA project at kcet.org. Governor Jerry Brown could soon weigh in on a proposal that would allow California colleges that teach brewing to sell the beer they make. The bill passed both the state Senate and the Assembly with overwhelming majorities. It builds on current law allowing schools that teach winemaking to also sell their product to raise funds. Backers say both beer and wine are as hard to sell as they are to produce, so bringing them to market is a valuable experience for students. The San Diego Tourism Authority has picked San Diego's official craft beer. That's a tall order, since a recent report finds San Diego has more licensed breweries than any other county in the U.S. The Tourism Authority teamed up with Bay City Brewing to create 72 and Hoppy. It's a seasoned IPA, and the Tourism Authority hopes it will help introduce tourists to the local industry.
San Diego's really known for a West Coast IPA, and that's what this is. So it's very light, it's refreshing, it has a little bit of a citrus flavor to it. So it makes it a really nice, drinkable beer and perfect on a hot summer day like we're having today.
72 and Hoppy officially goes on sale today at 18 different San Diego locations, including bars, restaurants, and hotels, with proceeds going directly to the brewery and the Tourism Authority. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.